One of the most frustrating things about Donald Trump and his allies is that Donald Trump will go out there and say something crazy, and his allies will follow closely behind him and try to clean up his mess. And if that means they need to sugarcoat whatever he's saying, they'll try to do that. If that means they need to ascribe his words to a whole different topic, they'll try to do that. Or even worse, sometimes they'll even agree with him and then start rationalizing whatever he says, even if he's making egregious threats. But if you end up getting anything out of this video, please remember to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate your support. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard by now, but Donald Trump has been going around and telling people that he would use the United States military against his political opponents. And anytime he is asked about this, instead of walking his statements back or saying he was being a bit hyperbolic, Donald Trump just doubles down. And then he starts to list people like Adam Schiff or Nancy Pelosi as examples of people that he would want to go after. And we once lived in a world where principled Republicans would stand up against this radical rhetoric. But that is not the world we live in today, because instead, they just try to enable this behavior and try to sane-wash Donald Trump to the 9th degree. It is pathetic, and it should be called out every single time we see it. So let's go ahead and take a look at these enemy from within comments that Donald Trump made, and then his follow-up comments where he starts to actually name names.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
So he is very clearly calling out people on the radical left. He's explicitly saying that he is not talking about illegal immigrants. And he is saying that the National Guard or the United States military should be available to him if he wants to seek retribution against these people. So when Donald Trump was asked about this, when he sat down with the town hall with Harris Faulkner, this is what he said in response.
And it is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because they made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick. And they're so evil. If they would spend their time trying to make America great again, it would be so easy to make this country great. But when I heard about that, they were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
All right.
They're the threat to democracy.
Every single accusation with this man is a confession. Donald Trump wants to say that the left is the threat to democracy when he is the one who tried to overturn a free and fair election in 2020. He wants to say that we are weaponizing the Justice Department and doing phony investigations when we have 12 separate instances of Donald Trump trying to weaponize the Justice Department and go after his political enemies. Every accusation is a confession, and he was very clear here. He listed people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. He talked about the people on the radical left, and he was saying that we are more dangerous than people like the Russians or the Chinese. This is absolutely insane stuff. You have somebody who wants to be the next president of the United States saying that political opponents have reached the level of enemy and that they are more dangerous than some of our geopolitical adversaries. This should be absolutely disqualifying. And anybody who has a lick of integrity would stand up and say that what the things that Donald Trump is saying is just wrong, and that we should not be trying to use the United States military to go after perceived enemies. But like I said, that is not the world we live in today. Because check out this answer from Glenn Youngkin when he's explicitly asked about these comments from Donald Trump.
Radical left lunatics, enemy from within, people like Adam Schiff.
Again, Jake, I don't think that and again, I can't.
I'm just reading you his
speak
quotes.
for him, but I do think that you are misinterpreting and misrepresenting his thoughts. I do believe, again, it's all around the fact that we have had an unprecedented number of illegal immigrants come over the border in an unconstrained, unrestrained fashion. The Biden-Harris administration has allowed it to happen. It was their policies. They did not fix it.
What is he talking about? He's trying to say that we are misinterpreting Trump's words when Donald Trump was very clear. The enemy from within is a greater threat than Russia and China. And when I'm talking about the enemy from within, I am talking about people on the radical left, including Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. So how many other Democrats fit under that umbrella? I would venture to say that it is all of them. So Trump was very clear in stating that he is more than happy to use the United States military against his political enemies. And Glenn Youngkin is trying to say that he was somehow talking about illegal immigration when he explicitly said that wasn't what he was talking about. So this is what I mean by these people trying to sane wash whatever Donald Trump is saying. They're trying to make things more palatable for the American people because they know, as well as I do, that this type of rhetoric is insane. These types of threats are disqualifying. But instead of standing on principle and standing up against Donald Trump, this is what we get. These people are enabling Donald Trump in his very worst instincts. Let's go ahead and move on to Mike Johnson, asked about the exact same comments, and this is what he had to say.
He's literally talking about
this
taking
stuff
the
is over the
military
top.
and
You know
using it against Democrats. I mean, he's literally talking.
No, he's not. No,
Yes, he is.
No, he's not, Jake. No, he's not. No, he's talking about using the National Guard and the military to keep the peace in our streets. In the summer of 2020, that my Democrat colleagues call the summer of love, it was crazy. It was mayhem, and Democratic progressive mayors and governors allowed it to go on, including Tim Walz, who allowed Minneapolis to burn, and it's still not rebuilt. Look, Trump is talking about restoring law and order, and I'm telling you, you can mock it. People in the media can mock it.
We will mock it, Mike Johnson. To try to say that Donald Trump is the rule of law candidate when he has been convicted of 34 different felonies, when he is facing multiple charges all across the country for his attempts in trying to steal the 2020 election, he is not your law and order candidate. And it explicitly makes it worse when he is saying that he is going to use the United States military to go after his perceived enemies. That is what a fascist does, not a democratically elected president of the United States. And Mike Johnson should know better. He is supposed to be a stand-up Christian dude. And instead, he is just licking the boots of Donald Trump because he is so terrified that if he stands up against the dear leader, then he is going to be cast out of the MAGA universe. And I think that's what this all boils down to. These people want to retain the power that they have, and instead of looking out for this country and the existential threat that Donald Trump poses to the country, they would rather kiss Trump's ass and retain the power for themselves. These people are un-American. Now, I would expect more of this type of conversation from somebody like J.D. Vance because he is supposed to be the president's bulldog, if you will. But when you have people like Glenn Youngkin out there, I mean, what does Glenn Youngkin have to lose? It is just pathetic. But let's go ahead and see what J.D. Vance said, because he was asked about this very same thing, and he tried to give us a ludicrous answer as well.
He mentioned Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi by name in this case over the weekend.
Yeah, Bill, well, look, I mean, you have Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi who have been really part of weaponizing the Department of Justice against our country. I think what Donald Trump is saying is, look, we are the strongest country in the world. We've got the best people in the world, but we do have some broken leadership. We have people like Nancy Pelosi who's getting rich off of insider stock trades, even as our own country has gotten poorer, who's obsessed, Nancy Pelosi is obsessed with Donald Trump, not with reimposing policies that are going to deliver peace and prosperity for the American people. And of course, like I said, we do have people on the left, not most people to be clear, but some people on the left who are encouraging violent responses to what we believe is going to be a Donald Trump victory in a couple of weeks. That's not okay. And I think it's totally reasonable for the president to point out that, yes, we've got the strongest country in the world, but we do have some broken leaders in Washington. It's why we're running this race.
Now, I think this is probably one of the worst and most dangerous answers that we're going to look at, because J.D. Vance didn't spin up a different story and ascribe Trump's words to a different topic. No, he is rationalizing what Donald Trump said. He is saying that Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi, well, they've been involved in weaponizing the justice system already, so of course Donald Trump would be able to go after them. And Nancy Pelosi, she's even guilty of insider trading. So of course Donald Trump would want to use the military to go after these people. This stuff is insane. It's disqualifying. We have something like our courts for a reason. We have due process for a reason. Because we do not want the President of the United States calling up the military to go after people he perceives as his enemies. And J.D. Vance is living in Donald Trump's fantasy land where everybody is after Trump, Donald Trump is the biggest victim, and then he uses this false reality he's constructed for himself to rationalize his future behavior. And I think that is exactly why he is so comfortable making threats like this. And when he is questioned about it, he doubles down. Because Trump has fully rationalized to himself that him using the military in this way would be perfectly justified. Even though that is so far off base that it is laughable. These people are enabling Donald Trump's worst tendencies. We are watching this country about to drive off this fascist cliff, and these people who are running cover for Donald Trump are as much to blame as Donald Trump is. And they should suffer a sweeping electoral defeat come this November. Because these people are un-American and they are antithetical to the principles that this United States was founded on. And they should be ashamed of themselves. So these are the things that we have to remember when we go vote in November. But I'll leave it there. If you guys got anything out of this video, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. Like I said, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate your support. If you want to see Donald Trump doubling down on these enemy from within comments, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.